Recording live from the Lucky Number 7 Lounge, this is Dine, Drink, Vegas, episode number 64, November News, where we're going to bring you all of the latest Las Vegas news that we thought was interesting and our drink of the day. But before we can do any of that, we've got to bring in the founder of Dine, Drink, Travel and Dine, Drink, Vegas himself. Yes, of course, I must be speaking about the high roller formerly of the High Plains, the king of comps, the leader in the luxury lounge, the Alabama Slammer, the man who will be smoking turkeys for the holiday and smoking rewards throughout his bonuses, but never ever smokes anything else because he's a good church-going boy. Of course, I mean Bill. Good evening and happy Thanksgiving Day Eve, Bill.
Good evening, John. How are you and what state is your kitchen in as you prepare for Thanksgiving?
It is an absolute and total disaster area. So my parents have reached the age where they do not wish to cook, but they still want to host. And so what that means is with my sister and my brother both having other plans, my wife and kids and I are in charge of catering dinner for my parents. And rather than doing a whole bird, I decided to do a bone-in breast via sous vide, a butterball roast that I'm going to smoke, and then I'm going to oven roast 2 turkey thighs. So I'm doing turkey 3 ways. We got dressing, we got mashed potatoes, we have like 9 desserts in progress and some homemade bread. There will be nothing healthy anywhere in sight, and that is exactly how God and the Pilgrims intended it. Bill, what do y'all got on deck for some Thanksgiving?
So I am an Episcopalian. We are the people from whom the Pilgrims were running. And I just want to say you're welcome, America, because without us, you never get to Thanksgiving. We are smoking a turkey. We are also smoking a brisket because while I love Alabama, the good people of Alabama don't understand how to slow smoke meat as well as really any garden variety Texan does. So I am trying to share the love with my neighborhood by smoking a brisket all dang day.
Yeah, I mean, I know they just kind of generally smoke some pork and throw some white sauce on it and call it church. Don't get me wrong. I will mess with some comeback sauce. I want to come to Alabama. I'll try the local fare. But yeah, that was my experience in Kentucky either. Kentucky's got good food. Kentucky and barbecue, not so much.
Yeah.
Bourbon, yes. They know what to do with corn. Those people know exactly what corn exists for.
I do trust the good people of Kentucky for that purpose. Absolutely, man.
Well, speaking of alcoholic beverages, before whiskey became the dominant distilled spirit in America, there were 2 on the coastal cities. One was rum, and then further inland, especially once we get to the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 and westward expansion into what will be the Ohio River Valley, we got apple brandy and apple jack and hard apple cider and all of those things. Tonight's cocktail is called the Jack Rose. I think it's the perfect thing rolling into Thanksgiving and Christmas. Here's the ingredients: 1.5 ounces of an apple jack or apple brandy, 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, freshly squeezed, of course, 1/2 ounce of grenadine. You're going to put all of that into your cocktail shaker with some crushed ice. Shake it like it owes you money. Strain it out. Serve it up in a martini glass, or in my case, a coupe, or one of those lovely Nick and Noras if you have it, or the serving vessel of your choice, and then garnish with a lemon twist. Bill, what ingredients did you opt for, and what do you think of the cocktail?
I went for Laird's Applejack, and the grenadine and the lemon juice in exactly the proportions you said, and I think it's good, not great. It's a little bit sour. Rachel somehow found the secret location of the Dine Drink Travel Command Bunker here in Alabama. She's here this week. She tried it, liked it better than some of the things we've done. Was more concerned with the sourness than I am. So it's good, not great. I think if I was going to do a Thanksgiving-themed cocktail, I would absolutely stay with the Applejack, but I would mix it with some rum. And I know you hate rum, so I hope I didn't disappoint you, but I would mix it with some rum, maybe a little bit of a cinnamon or something like that. The lemon and the Applejack strike me as fighting a little bit. So what did you think about it, John?
Well, let's start. I do want to clarify because I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to be precise in our language so that people can know what to do and how to base decisions on our experiences. When you say Laird's Applejack, do you mean literally Laird's Applejack, or do you mean the 100 proof bottled and bond apple bourbon that I know we both have bottles of?
I mean the Applejack. It turns out
80,
they
80
keep
proof.
yes, the 80 proof Applejack because they've got that in the local liquor stores. I still got some of the apple. It's an apple bourbon or apple brandy. I could swear it was apple brandy.
It is apple brandy, excuse me. It's not apple bourbon, it's apple
Yeah.
brandy. And they
No.
start off as the same distillate, it's just the one I have is aged for 4 years and it's 100 proof.
So I've got that, but it's a nicer drink and it's harder for me to replace here. So I'm saving it for more special occasions, like when guests come over tomorrow for Thanksgiving. The Applejack is cheaper and easier for me to get.
Fair.
Also, I wanted something that is just a little bit sweeter, so that's what I went with.
I will say, I think I like this drink better than you do, but I think the extra 20 proof and the barrel aging matters because if you're a fan of whiskey sours, if I highly recommend the Laird Straight Apple Brandy bottled and bond 100 proof, 4 years age statement minimum. Because if it's bonded, it's got to be 100 proof and got to be at least 4 years old. Them's the laws. I don't make them up. The sour note here is in check because the apple is way more assertive, and it tames the lemon. The lemon actually makes it more like a Granny Smith apple, or like if your mama put lemon juice on your apples in your lunch bag when you were a kid so they wouldn't turn brown. It's got that kind of a vibe, so it's nostalgic for that purpose. I do think if you don't have 100 proof, my recommendation would be to up the brandy or decrease the lemon juice. Either way, I think that ratio needs to be tighter. The 1-to-2 ratio, an ounce and a half of brandy to half an ounce to 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, works perfectly with 100 proof. But I'm still getting the vanilla barrel notes because it's bonded and the extra proof. So I hear your
Yeah, I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not getting any of that. And yeah, it is absolutely the lower proof one. One of the other things I've discovered too is I like lemon juice in my cocktails very much. I think I like a little bit less of it. Like I made a paper airplane pretty recently and I kept all the proportions right except I cut the lemon juice in half and I just like that better. So maybe I just don't have quite a taste for the sour stuff.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And this is a sour. This is a sour cocktail. So if you are fans of a whiskey sour, a daiquiri, a margarita, this is in that vein. But the lemon at this ratio is very, very, very present. At 100 proof, it's balanced, but the lemon is there and it is sour. It lets you know. Bill, I like this more than I think you do, and I will credit that to the higher proof, balancing it better. Would you like to guess what I firmly believe is missing from this drink?
More rum?
Well, there's no rum, and I wouldn't add rum to this, but come on, you make fun of me all the time.
I make fun of you for a lot of. Oh, I see. So, listeners, John and I can see one another when we're doing this. We don't make you look at our faces, but we like to look at each other's faces because we're both gluttons for punishment. And to be fair, if you're new to the podcast, I make fun of John for a lot of things, a lot, as he does to me. But his point is that it would be better with Angostura bitters. So, John, how many gallons of Angostura did you put in here?
So I did not put any in the original, but in my glass, which I drank probably about halfway down. So I put in 2 really strong dashes of Angostura, which is a lot considering I've drank part of the cocktail down. I also just added a splash of Fee's molasses bitters. So I wanted to get some holiday baking spice notes in here, and I wanted to get a little bit of that molasses because I want to deepen the flavors. So I made it to spec, but now I'm adjusting to the glass on the fly. Yeah, this is a drink I will say, listeners, if you find it too tart, bitters is your buddy. It makes a tremendous difference. The baking spices in the Angostura and the molasses, and I'm going back for more Angostura because I have a problem. But the baking spices from the Angostura and the sulfur and dark sugar notes and the molasses bitters make a world of difference in this cocktail. So my suggestion, and I don't know what I would name it, I would go ahead and throw in some bitters. Cardamom bitters would be great too, because cardamom bitters and apple spirits, chef's kiss, beautiful combination. I got to say, I like it much better like this.
You know, that actually makes sense to me. The dash of bitters is honestly something I probably should have tried here. So well done, John.
Well, we followed the recipe, and I will say that's what we took away. If you like a really puckery drink, this is your boy. The Jack Rose is your drink if you like a puckery sour. If you want a little less pucker, but you still want it to be sweet and sour, increase to 100 proof apple brandy and or increase the ratio of spirit to lemon juice so that there's less of the lemon juice coming through. And if you really want to do it upright, grab the bitters. I think all of those would be good improvements. All right. On that note, Bill, I think we've beaten this horse to death. I'm going to take another sip. You want to start us on the news?
I do. Scott at Vital Vegas. And folks, if you are new to the podcast, welcome. Folks, if you are a repeat listener, you already knew that our first story was going to be lifted from Scott at Vital Vegas on X. He blogged his thoughts about how the Flamingo renovation plans are, quote, highlights why Vegas is losing its mojo, end quote, by forgetting that it's always been a mid-market value pick and trying to appeal what Scott calls higher-end clientele and convention goers with corporate credit cards. In the blog post, he shares some of the design sketches, which do seem too high-end for what the Flamingo's always been. And to the point we've been making on this podcast for years now, yet another example of Vegas casinos creating more supply for high-end resort space than the demand will possibly support. So, listeners, John calls me the high roller, formerly the high plains, because I like nice stuff, but I can't afford nice stuff all the time. And most of the people, there aren't a whole lot of people who go to Vegas who have giant amounts more money than I do. Now, the people who go to Vegas who have more money than me have a whole lot more because,
Right.
I work for a living. But, most of the people who go to Vegas, I would wager, whatever, like it's a lot of high-end spaces. You've already tapped the markets for those clientele. So, John, tell me your thoughts here.
So getting to your point, we have these personas we play off of, and there's a degree of truth that we exaggerate for the podcast. Both of our households, our household is above the American median average. I am on the lower end of upper middle class. You're probably in the middle end of upper middle class. Neither of us are wealthy.
If we quit showing up to work, it's a problem.
Right. We work for our money. Our money doesn't work for us. I have twice the kids you do, which by the way, that doesn't double my bills. It turns geometric at a certain point. That's how kids work. Because they break more things and do more damage to your home and all of that. Neither of us are poor, but neither of us are wealthy. You do a little bit better than me and have fewer crotch goblins. So you tend to have more discretionary income, and you've been making that kind of living for longer. And I was dirt poor until I was 38. So I haven't had spending money till relatively recent in the game. All of that is to say, both of us from time to time can enjoy some luxury, but even you who prefers luxury can't always do luxury. Vegas is moving more and more as if the majority of Americans made at least as much, if not more, than you and I. But the economic data says that, in fact, no, the average American makes less than you and I. And that math ain't mathing. Now, that has consequences where they have to reprice their luxury. And we're going to get to that in the last story when I talk about a trip I have booked. But yeah, Bill, we've talked about this a lot. And I know, Scott, if you happen to listen to our podcast, I don't think you do, but if you happen to, brother, we steal your stories all the time. I respect you. You know more about Vegas than we do. But you have said several times on your podcast and online and in blogs that affordability is not the issue with Vegas. And we're going to get into some Vegas numbers in a little bit. I'm going to push you on that. Affordability is an issue in Vegas. Is it the only issue? No. I think Flamingo is really messing up. I think Caesars property really does not understand. Flamingo does not need to be up marketed. It doesn't. Right?
No, be what you are.
Be what you are. Now, make some of those rooms less dumpy. Let's put some baller on a budget. You want to do some upgrades, do some upgrades. But don't be what you're not. That's what Caesars is for. That's what Paris is for. That's what the Cromwell, soon-to-be Vanderpump, is for. Harrah's, Flamingo, The Link, Planet Hollywood, those are affordable properties. You should treat them as such. Don't try to upscale. You're just missing the market.
Absolutely.
Right,
well, John, I would normally tell you where I disagree, but this time I don't. So why don't we just go to our next news story?
Well, let's jump from getting fancy to decidedly not fancy. On the other end of the marketing spectrum, Scott and every other outlet out there has shared news of the reopening of the Stage Door Casino, the insanely popular dive bar just off the strip known for cheap beer and hot dogs and cheap video poker. Now, I had a chance to stumble into the Stage Door on a trip with my buddy Josh and my buddy Court. You happened to be in town the same week. I don't think you went into the Stage Door with me, did you?
I did not.
We crossed paths, but not for that. I will say Stage Door, it's definitely budget. There's not quite enough baller for me, but it is very popular, and I'm glad it's back open because there are lots of people that love Stage Door. It turns out I'm from a very trashy part of Texas. I can go to a really trashy dive bar anytime I want. When I want Vegas, I want something I can't get at home. Most of you won't get this, but Bill, if you've ever been to Riley's, you've been to Stage Door.
Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah. Same vibe.
Oh. I mean, why would I go to an establishment like that? I'm offended.
Oh, Riley's is fun, but it's, not, nothing I want on my vacation.
Okay. Well, moving on to our next news story then, October gambling and visitor numbers are out, and with different sources highlighting different aspects. Vital Vegas highlighted a 25% increase in gambling revenue for October 25.
Pause.
Yes.
Typo on my part. That should be just under 2.5%. And I was sober when I made the run sheet. My bad. Please continue.
That is okay. So is the 66% increase in Baccarat?
That is accurate. I mess up the first stat. The rest is correct.
Long story short, ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of sources reporting different numbers that are broadly consistent. There is more gambling revenue in Las Vegas, but what most sources, including Las Vegas locally, are consistently reporting is that the total number of visitors is down year over year. What that sounds like to me is a shallower pool of gamblers with deeper pockets, and that's what John and I were talking about in the previous news stories. The people who go to Vegas with more money than us have a whole lot more, but that's also a fairly narrow group of people, which is a great strategy as long as that group of people likes you.
Yeah.
John, how long do you think that, first, you have the same read on this, and second, how long do you think this, if so, how long do you think this trend can continue?
I don't know the answer to the second question. I don't know how long you can keep doing this. I will say, like, Baccarat, that is a pinky up, pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon game? Like, I've seen, like, even at Bellagio, they're pretty lax on dress code in the casino. If you look sloppy at the Baccarat table, you're at least going to get some side eye and maybe a comment. Your money spins, they'll let you at the table, but table minimums for Baccarat tend to be high. It is a game that we associate with James Bond movies. We think about Monte Carlo and European intrigue, and, the fact that Baccarat is up that much kind of tells you they're going after whales. And I get that, but there's only so many whales, right? And I don't begrudge Vegas for trying to get that whale dollar, because there are people out there, Bill, that could spend more in a weekend in Vegas than either of our households make in a year.
Totally true.
I get that customers out there, Vegas should go for them. There's also a whole lot more of us who want to roll in and have a good time. So I think it is a tale of two sets of numbers. It's why you can't say Vegas is dead. Lots of people are going to Vegas. Lots of people are still gambling in Vegas, but fewer are going to Vegas than went this time last year. And price isn't the only factor. There's a lot going on in our world that's impacting people's choices, most of which have nothing to do with Vegas pricing. I still think Vegas has to do more to attract the value-minded shopper, although clearly they're cleaning house with those who have excess income.
Great. Well, John, what's our next story?
Las Vegas locally shared some bad news and some good news. On the bad news side, a deal is being negotiated to keep F1 in Vegas through 2037. Ugh. On good news, the Boring Company's Harry Reid Airport Tunnel may open as soon as the first quarter of 2026, giving travelers one more option to get from their flight to the fun. Caveat, the tunnel will not actually be on the grounds of Harry Reid International Airport. You will have to take a short walk across the street to the UNLV. I guess it's whatever arena their basketball team plays in. It's like a 5 to 10 minute walk from the airport, but you're going to have one more travel option that is very low cost and convenient. So, Bill, what are your thoughts on F1 and on the boring tunnels?
So I think the boring tunnels are an interesting idea because, I mean, Vegas is essentially out of surface capacity for traffic. So your option is to either go through the air or underground. I think the boring tunnels are great if they actually work out. Also, I doubt the 5 to 10 minute walk number, particularly from the actual terminals, but somebody will eventually start a shuttle service. In terms of Formula One, I think it's a terrible idea. It's part of Vegas going super high end, nothing but super high end all the time. And I don't want to do it. Like, I will actively avoid Las Vegas during the times when that is messing up the process.
So I'm going to take slight issue with you on F1. I have no interest in F1. But, the first year they had F1, downtown got absolutely pummeled because a lot of people who weren't F1 people did exactly what you just counseled, avoid Vegas. Well, this year they have the Neon City Music Festival going on, free entertainment on Fremont. Now, Bill, you and I are a little bit old. We are both the complexion of mayonnaise, so you may not know this artist. I do, because I work around a lot of young people and I have 9 million children. Although he's no longer current, he's a millennial's favorite artist, Waka Flocka Flame. Pardon me, Waka, did not mean to mispronounce your name. Apple Brandy, yo. Waka Flocka Flame put on a free concert as part of this festival. The crowds were packed. I think there's plenty of reasons to go to Vegas during F1, but if you're not a race fan, avoid the Strip. Stay downtown, go to some of the other off-strip properties. Go ahead and check out Red Rocks if you've been wanting to. Check out M Resort if you want some high class off the Strip. Go check out South Point, check out Sam's Town. Just avoid the Strip, right? Don't avoid Vegas, avoid the Strip.
Fair. I've got to get the discretionary income back to go to Vegas at all. And I'm increasingly becoming a fan of downtown anyway.
I do love me some downtown. All right, our next story, multiple outlets have covered the announcement of incoming Chinatown venue, Chubby World. And apparently it will be a Japanese-themed entertainment complex, including dining venues, shopping venues, and a multimedia music presentation center. It is, in fact, not a gentleman's club for dancers who, how do I put this delicately, the kind of girls that Freddie Mercury said make the rock and world go round.
I have very few principles left, John. One of those is that I shall not go to a place called Chubby World. I'm not sure if that's a problem with me being fat or if that's a problem about me getting excited. But I am not going to a place called Chubby World. If you want to go, God bless, just know that I will actively make fun of you for that. Like, that means we know what I'll be making fun of you for.
I would go, but being the West Texan that I am, I will refer to it as TortaCon the whole time I'm there.
That is hilarious. Well, John, Eater Las Vegas dropped a listicle of the best new Vegas restaurants for November 2025, although some aren't exactly new. What looks good to you on this list?
So when I was scrolling through this list, there's several of these that do look good. Some of them have been open for a few months. We've talked about them, like Holstein's, which used to be at Cosmo, has been back up and running in the Arts District for a while. Bizarre Meat moved; they've been open for a little while. I will say the two standouts to me, Bill. One is going to be the Starlight Lounge, which is going to be an open air venue over by the Mob Museum. I love outdoor dining and drinking. I love downtown. I love the Mob Museum. I'm there for that. The other one, and we're going to talk about my planned trip with my wife in a little bit. The Super Frico at the Cosmo now has something they call the Party. In the space that used to be the theater for their show Opium, which has since shuttered, they're now doing a 50 ticket a night dinner theater concept where performers from Spiegel World shows such as Absinthe and Atomic Saloon, and I assume some veterans from OPM, come in and out of the venue and put on some acts while diners work their way through a 3-course menu provided by Super Frico. Tickets run $150 per person, but if you think about it from the lens of dinner and a show, and even a mid-level Cirque du Soleil can cost you at least $60 to buy yourself a ticket, usually more like for good seats, more like $100. The idea of $150 for dinner and a show is pretty reasonable. They're sold out for the dates that my wife and I are going to be in Vegas, but I got to say, that's one I would do. Bill, did any of this stand out to you?
So, the thing that stood out to me on this list was random food words. There is a restaurant on 6th and Carson, so right off the Fremont Street experience, called Pachi Pachi, which is described as, quote, an izakaya-style lounge. John, what in the name of all that's good and holy is an izakaya-style lounge?
Well, now I'm going to have to Google that because Bill, honestly have no idea.
So while you Google that, I will talk about my reaction to the rest of this list. There are several spots that look delightful. One of my challenges, though, when I go to Vegas is that I tend to, I want to stay close to the Strip or to downtown, because to me, part of the experience is being able to just randomly stumble to whatever the next place is. And there are a whole lot of these restaurants, or at least several of these restaurants, which are somewhere well off the Strip. I don't, and a couple of other of them, that like Pisces Bar and Seafair and the Wind that, I don't know, just already look higher end than I want to go to. So I'm not looking for a value find in Las Vegas. I'm looking for a nice experience. I will pay some money, but I don't want to drop $200 or $300 on every dinner. And I would like it to be close enough to walk to from wherever I'm staying. That's what I'm looking for. So did you figure out what an izakaya style lounge is, John?
Yes, I did. And I am so down for this, especially downtown. I think this is the perfect thing. Pachi Pachi is now on my must-do list the next time I have a downtown stay. According to the interwebs, izakaya is a type of Japanese bar in which a variety of small, typically inexpensive dishes and snacks are served to accompany and be paired with alcoholic beverages. In other words, this is Japanese version of tapas or small plates or whatever you want to call it. I love to dine that way. Sometimes my wife and I go out to eat, and rather than ordering an entree, we will order like 5 appetizers and just graze on appetizers for a meal. So I love small plate concepts. I love Asian food. I love things that have cocktails that are designed to go with the food I'm eating, like a tasting flight. This sounds like baller on a budget all day, every day. So yeah, Pachi Pachi, add that to my 3 that I want to check out. Next time I'm downtown, I'm doing that.
Outstanding. Well, John, let's talk for just a minute about college football playoffs. And again, y'all, this isn't a sports broadcast, but it's a fairly big news story, and it's Vegas adjacent because a lot of y'all are going to be going to Vegas and placing sports bets as we get closer to the college football playoffs. So the top 10 for this week, the week of Thanksgiving 2025, are number 10, the University of Alabama. Number 9, Notre Dame, who my Aggies defeated earlier in the season. Number 8, Oklahoma. So the highest two-loss team is Oklahoma. Then come a series of one-loss teams at 7 Ole Miss, at 6 Oregon, at 5 Texas Tech, and at 4 Georgia. And then at third, my Aggies, at number 2 Indiana, at number 1 Ohio State. Although Indiana and Ohio State won't probably stay 1 and 2, because inevitably they'd have to play one another in the Big Ten championship game. Some of the thoughts here are that Miami is just a few spots back. Similar to Notre Dame, they have 2 losses, although they defeated Notre Dame. And I think we'll know a lot more after this weekend, after some of kind of the big rivalry games. So, John, what are your thoughts on, I guess this is just about the penultimate version of the college football playoff rankings?
I got to say, I've been feeling since week 3, if I were to bet long range on who our final 2 in the national championship game were going to be, I have felt since week 3 that we are headed for Ohio State versus one of 2 teams, either your alma mater, Texas A&M, or the hated tortilla throwers to my north, Texas Tech. I still feel like that's where we're headed. I still feel like we're looking at Ohio State versus either A&M or Tech. That seems to be the most likely outcome. I would not have predicted that during the preseason or in the first 2 weeks of the year, but having watched these teams play for a little bit and kept up with things, yeah, Bill, I think your Aggies should feel good about their chances. They got to play tough. They got to win out. But if I were going to put a bet down today on who's going to walk away with the title, Ohio State's got a really good chance of repeating. I really think they do. I think your Aggies have a good chance to pull them down. I think Georgia's still got a chance. I'm never going to rule out the winner of the SEC, but Ohio State's sitting pretty. Somebody's going to have to beat them.
I am willing to finally say something nice about my Aggies. John, are you ready to hear it?
Yes.
We are 11-0 on this season. I am now almost confident we are not the worst team in the country.
Your team is not. Your team is a solid team, even if they were to drop a game somewhere along the way. We know that rivalry with UT gets emotional. I think they're in the playoffs no matter what. I think they're a high seed in the playoffs if they win. Well, not I think. If they win out, they're a high seed in the playoffs, but I can't envision a scenario where they play their way out. You should feel good. You guys have a chance to win. And at the end of the day, and I know people that live in the state you now call home don't understand this. At the end of the day, nobody has a right to assume their team's going to the national championship or even going to be in the running. Any year that your team has a shot is a good year. So I'm glad my buddy Bill's alma mater is having a good ride. And I wish y'all luck, even though I hate y'all. All right.
I have battered Aggie syndrome, something fierce. I don't believe.
I get that. And also seeing Alabama hang around at 10 is hilarious to me. Anyway. It's time for the Tide to roll out. All right. Oh, it's my turn to do a story. Okay. Well, I'm going to let you do this one because the last one's me anyway.
That's fair. So, y'all, welcome to this week's episode of Vegas WTF, where we report whatever story we run across that's weird, even for Las Vegas. And Las Vegas locally reported that the upcoming National Finals Rodeo, and side note, if you've never been to NFR, it is a great event. You should absolutely go. But the upcoming National Finals Rodeo is in danger of cancellation due to an outbreak of, and I can't believe John is going to make me say these words, the event is in danger of cancellation due to an outbreak of horse herpes, because what happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas and sometimes extends all the way to the horse stalls. John, what in the name of all that's good and holy is horse herpes?
Well, see, Bill, sometimes in life, 2 horses love each other. No, I don't know much about horse herpes. I will simply point out that the Las Vegas adult entertainment industry never gets canceled. the various conventions that have to do with electronic dance entertainment and things like that never get canceled. We don't do this when the humans are having the social diseases, which proves one thing in America. We care more about horses than we do people. And having met a lot of people, I get it.
I totally understood. So, John, I understand that you've got a future trip planned and may have one or two baller on a budget tips. So, what are you thinking, man? Tell us about your trip?
So, my wife and I have had the worst year ever. In a previous podcast, we did talk about the passing of our daughter back in January. I had not planned to talk about that on the podcast. But when Mark from 360 Vegas tragically took his own life over the summer, I felt compelled to talk about our story because our daughter died in very similar circumstances. It's been a rough year for my wife and I. So we had booked a trip to New York in December just before Christmas Day because baller on a budget tip number one, if you're traveling on a Sunday through Wednesday, it's always cheaper. Sometimes on Monday through Thursday, if you want to get 3 nights in, Sunday through Wednesday, Monday through Thursday, those are your best travel windows. Most people are leaving. You're not on the weekends. The week before Christmas is usually very slow. So that's another baller on a budget trip. After Christmas, you're running into New Year's. Don't even try it unless you got stacks of cash. So we booked for that time frame because it was affordable. We also had lots of Southwest points to use up. So we were out a total of, I want to say, $25 for our flight. And we had what was going to be between our M Life offer and some credit card points and some other things, a free room in New York. So baller on a budget, tip number one, pay attention to the calendar, book when it's advantageous. Be willing to go on off days, off seasons, just before big holidays, not on the weekend. You could save a lot of money by going when other people aren't. But here's number two. Keep monitoring prices. So, Bill, we upgraded our New York reservation into a New York reservation with dining credit. One of the good things that does for you is, and you ran into this is what happened. I've thought about this. This is why your booking at the W went haywire. Whatever your MGM offer is, you can only book that for one room on a set of dates, right? And once you have a room booked with your MGM rewards offer based on your play, you can look at the other offers and book a room on another category, but they won't let you stack multiple rooms at that price. Now, the phone agents you dealt with should have told you that, but they didn't. But because we booked a price that was on one of their other sales, a % off with a food and beverage credit, that magically put my rewards offer back into play. So just twice a day when I had nothing better to do, I kept checking what was available. My wife and I were laying in bed one night talking because we now have insomnia after what we've been through this year. And my wife made the comment, I really want to stay at Cosmo. I had my phone out. I looked it up. Lo and behold, we were willing to surrender our food and beverage credit, we could book a 1-bedroom suite with a strip view, not a fountain view, but a strip view at Cosmo with the Japanese soaking tub with the window for not very much more money than our New York offer. Now, we were giving up a food and beverage credit to do it, but all of a sudden it put a 1-bedroom suite, which again, baller on a budget, not normally in my budget, but because I keep checking the prices and the prices fluctuate, I caught a dip in the market. I got a screaming deal. So here's baller on a budget tip number 2. Don't assume you can't afford a certain room. Keep checking the prices. And if you catch a moment where the algorithm suddenly says, we're going to discount this room because in its little computer brain, it thinks it needs to discount a room. And y'all, sometimes these prices shift minute to minute. You might catch a screaming deal if you're diligent and keep checking. So that's tip number 2. We're now set to stay at Cosmo in a 1-bedroom suite for not much more money than we were going to stay at New York. Now, I love New York. There is no comparison between a Soho Premier King, and a 1-bedroom terrace strip view suite at Cosmo, right? We got a way better room for not much more money because I obsessively check twice a day. So that's my other tip.
I guess the only tip I would add on to that, John, is when you see the deal that you want, book it then. Don't go away to think about it, because there are so many times that the deals are at best ephemeral.
Yes, because those algorithms are funny things. I've shared on the podcast before. One time, Lori and I got the Palazzo essentially for free because we tend to fly Southwest. I had the price for my Southwest tickets on one tab, and I had Southwest Vacations open on the other, and I kept refreshing Southwest Vacations. And for a moment, Palazzo was where it was like $15 for the vacation package, $15 more than just my airline tickets. So Lori and I stayed at the Palazzo for $15. Once we got there, they had undersold their Prestige Lounge, and so we were able to upgrade to a Prestige Lounge room, and I think we only gave an extra $50 a night because they were underbooked, right? So sometimes you can walk into those deals by keep checking online when you're booking, and then when you show up, you don't have to do the $20 tip. Be nice to the person at the front desk and just ask, are there any upgrades? Because she was like, well, we could put you in the Prestige room for the Prestige for an extra $50 a night. We got full access to the lounge. You can get more than $50 worth of drinks and snacks out of the Venetian and Palazzo Prestige floor. It's the best VIP lounge in Vegas, beats anything MGM has in its inventory. So folks, you can baller on a budget. You just got to do your homework, be persistent, and be nice, and don't be shy about asking. On that note, Bill, why don't we tell our listeners where else they can find more Dine, Drink, Travel, and Dine, Drink, Vegas content so they can get more travel tips?
Folks, you can find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Vegas, where we bring you short and focused videos to help you plan your next trip. Things like 5 minutes on a particular hotel room or restaurant or a lounge or something like that. You can also find us on YouTube at Dine Drink Travel, where we bring you all the rest of the travel world, including, for purposes of this podcast, the lounges in the Las Vegas airport. You can find me on most social media platforms at Dine Drink Travel, except for Blue Sky, where I'm Dine Drink Bill, but I mostly hang out on X at Dine Drink Travel because that's where John is. John, where are you on X?
I am at Dine Drink John. I would love to talk to you about bourbon, Las Vegas, coffee, sports, especially why the Dallas Cowboys are the bane of my existence and make my beard grow grayer by the day. I'm also going to tease, we have this in the works. I was supposed to already have some episodes cut, but 2025 has been a bad year, and I've been putting a lot of time into my surviving children because they deserve it. Eventually, we're going to be putting out some short and long form videos on how to make cocktails like the ones we feature in our episodes. Those will be coming to TikTok and YouTube eventually. Sorry, boss, I'm a little bit behind. I promise we'll get there. We thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us. We know there's a mountain of podcasts out there. That you chose ours means all the world. If you've got a friend planning a trip to Vegas who would benefit from our advice, or a mortal enemy that hates listening to old, fat, white Southern guys talk and talk and talk and talk, either way, share our podcast with them. You'll be helping us grow an audience so that we can keep bringing you this amazing, top shelf, outstanding Las Vegas travel content. Thanks again, and until the next episode, happy travels.